All right, come on in. It is time to talk about the biggest stories in arts and pop culture this week. The group chat is here, and today on the podcast, you're going to hear about this new documentary on David Beckham. And since it's Taylor Swift's Eras Tour Film Day, we're going to unpack the art of the concert film. Let's go. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. I'm excited about today. And the reason I'm excited about today is we're going to talk about two of my favorite interests. One of them is David Beckham, and the other one is Taylor Swift. These are two icons in their own right, and they are kind of colliding because both of them are expanding their brands. They're expanding their brands to TV and to film. And also, I'm hoping we have a conversation about much music. There's a whole lot to talk about. And to talk about it around the Commotion table today, we got film critic Rad Simonpillai, writer Auntie Donahue, and journalist Dalton Higgins. What's good, everyone? Welcome to Commotion. I'm so happy that you're here. Hello. What's going on?
Good morning.
Oh,
Hi.
This is going to be the best time. I'm so excited about it. Particularly because Rad is like, I don't know if I can talk about Taylor Swift so much in 1 week, and that makes me happy, Rad. You know, I love to put you in that position.
Dude, and y'all sent me to the movie. I sat through 3 hours of it and could not pull out my Shazam. And I was like, I don't know what these songs are.
We will come back to this. We'll come back to this because where we're starting is with David Beckham. And you know what? What I want to start with is this.
Tonight we bring you the story of how David Beckham became a global phenomenon.
David Beckham, unstoppable.
Oh man, I have chills down my spine. I'm having a good time with this. Dalton, I'm going to start with you. What we just heard is a trailer for the #1 show on Netflix right now. It's just called Beckham. It is a 4-episode documentary. You're a lifelong football fan. We're not going to call it soccer on this show because we are proper people. What do you think makes David Beckham's life story so compelling that they're like, you know what? We got to make a documentary about this?
Yeah, totally. I mean, Beckham, he's one of those football players that, despite what the paparazzi and, tabloid journal, they kind of present him as this kind of uppity, rich kid who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But I think the documentary sort of debunks all of that mythology. Like, he comes from he's a working class, working poor family, bloke, as they say in the UK. His mother was a hairdresser. His father installed kitchens in homes, worked 7 days a week. So he was this, what makes it compelling is he did that, the 10,000 hours thing. Like, he was horrible at school. He had no social life. And all he did was play football. He slept with his football, and then he became this pro athlete that's worth like $1 bazillion, right? So I think it's fascinating cinema personally. But then again, I'm a footballer. I love football, unlike an unnamed co-host of ours this morning.
Rad is just out here catching strays, and I love that for you. We will come back to that, Rad, because I have my own let's say qualms to direct at you. But and I'm going to go to you next and just talk about like the perception of David Beckham, because I think like we all kind of have an idea of this like larger than life kind of figure. What was your perception of Beckham before this?
I mean, I will now, I'm deflecting from you, everybody else, to say that I thought of David Beckham as a non-footballer fan, as Mr. Posh Spice for a very long time, which is like, I need to delete my account. I understand I'm going to get a lot of hatred for this. But like, to me, he was like, his job was beach. Like he was Ken to Posh's. Like I really didn't. I was surprised he was funny. Like watching this, I was like, "Well, look at you with a sense of humor, matching your missus," because she's very funny.
She's very
funny.
funny.
Spice World. She's got great comedic timing. So I am just like, "Look at you, did a good job, sir." Like I'm very like. He didn't even need to wear a fur coat and a belt that said David on it. He just like living his life.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. That's been my whole thing. I didn't know what he sounded like until like the mid 2000s. So I'm just very excited for this opportunity for him. I'm sure it'll now break him out and people will know who he is, which I think is very exciting.
But like, do you have like memories of like the billboards and the underwear ads and I don't know, the cologne and stuff that, had been rolled out over the last like 20 years or so?
Yes, like we were as a millennial, an elderly millennial. Yeah. It was part of the, discourse that you should love David Beckham. He's a very handsome man. He's got tons of tattoos. He's got that hair because his mom, obviously she raised him well with that, knowing how to do it. And then, he married Posh, which was the biggest that was all of that's the only thing I really have.
The Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift of their time, if you will, right? Like this is
100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I mean, now everybody who watches football is now going to pelt me with soccer balls as soon as they see me.
I will protect you, Anne. Don't worry about it.
Thank you so much. I accept it.
I will admit before this group chat right now that I owned like a lot of David Beckham branded merchandise. Like when David Beckham was like, here's David Beckham branded lotion. I was like, he uses it. So absolutely, that is the lotion I'm going to use in my life because he was just that influential of a figure. I think people sort of think about previous generations of like maybe sort of famous sports stars who kind of set the tone for how men should be in public. David Beckham was that to me. Rad, we've come to the part where we just put you on the spot. Are you ready for this? Because okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of in the same boat as Anne, where it's like, yes, he was Mr. Posh Spice to me. Like, I don't think I would have. But and my thing is, I can't tell whether I knew David Beckham first as Mr. Posh Spice or because of the movie Bend It Like Beckham. Like, I don't know which one of those came first into my, like, so for me, he's just the guy that inspired the little Indian girl, right? And she literally would say, "Bend it," and beyond that, I was checked out because the thing is, it's like for Posh Spice, it's not like Posh Spice is registering in my world as much either. So that's not really bringing you dating Posh Spice is still not bringing you into my sphere. So for up until I watched this documentary, he inspired, the girl. That was it. That was.
You know what gets lost in it? You know what I find hilarious about this is most people, Bend It Like Beckham, the film, and inspiring the South Asian young girl, the film we watched years ago. But he scored the goal of the century, man. Like he scored when he played for Manchester United.
Nobody told me that.
From his own half.
He literally kicked the ball from midfield.
And so this is what was interesting to me, but watching this series, because it's like, there was a time he didn't have facial hair. Oh, okay. Like there was and then
you're sort of putting together like how the mythology kind of came together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm putting it together. I mean, I learned everything in this docu. Everything was new to me.
To that point, Rad, you told a producer, I've downed the first 2 episodes and I hate soccer more. Do you care to explain where that came from, my good man?
I mean, this is where Rad the film critic sort of comes in and stuff, right? It's like
that's why you're here. So yes.
Yeah, no, but it's like because first of all, it's like I think that was Rad being the knee-jerk Rad reaction. I hate soccer now.
Love that guy.
My son plays soccer. It's all good, guys. Kick the ball, have fun. So, but in terms of the movie, or the series, it got me in. It hooked me in those what you talked about, those first stages where we're learning that this guy comes from a working class, his work dedication. What I really connected with is the way he couldn't hold on to money. It's like, I know that. Poor people, we don't know.
He gets a paycheck, he spends it the next day. He bought a new car, he bought new jeans.
Exactly. He's getting $50,000 a week and he's still living paycheck to paycheck because you don't know how to hold on to money. I get that. I totally connect that. I related with that. And when he's calling, when he's calling out his wife for coming, for the differentials, that kind of stuff. I'm like, you're I connected to that. Sorry.
You know what? We actually have a clip of that because that is my favorite moment of that documentary. Let's listen to, because we don't get a lot of exposure to the way that David Beckham and Posh Spice talk to each other, but this was a really endearing and viral moment. Let's listen to it.
We're very working class.
Be honest.
I am being honest. I am being honest.
What car did your dad drive you to school in?
So my dad did.
No, one answer.
My dad.
What car was it?
All right, it's not a simple answer
what did you get your dad to drive?
It depends.
No.
Okay, in the 80s, my dad had a Rolls Royce.
Thank you.
It's the best moment in the documentary because poor Posh is just trying to be like, we were very working class, and then David is not in the scene and he bursts through the door and is like, be honest, what are you talking about? And when you are watching that moment, what did it tell you about the dynamic between these two?
I mean, this is the thing. This is the other context I know David Beckham in. Their marriage was all in the newspapers because of the alleged affair, blah, blah. So it's like, they actually banter. I think they might like each other as people, which was like, oh my God, famous people who are married like each other? This is bananas information. I love this information.
It's possible.
It's possible. Also, I mean, I grew I'm a paycheck to paycheck person myself. I will never be able to hold on to money. I'll never own property. That's okay. But what I also adhered to is whenever you do meet somebody who's like, we weren't well off either. And you're like, tell them the truth. You went to Disneyland every year with your family. So, no. So I loved that. She also doesn't get defensive or mean. Like, she's like, okay, yes, it's just liking each other. Imagine.
But this is where I want to question it, right? Because this once again, we have to accept that this is a very authorized series, right? So when we talk about like what made me hate it more is because all of a sudden at a certain point I started feeling manipulated. It's like, oh, we can't dig in a little further. Like, she really didn't get mad, and was he really that good a soccer player? Because this movie made it seem like he was the most incredible soccer player. Then my wife hit up the Google and it said he's like number 50 or something of all time. I'm like, well, that. Like, so is he really? Are we only feeling this guy's legendary because he's married to Posh Spice and he's the only English-speaking soccer star? Because apparently there's a lot of Ronaldos on that list ahead of him.
Dalton, I cannot cope with the notion that Rad is out here being like, was David Beckham good?
I guess controversial, but I actually think their relationship's going to last. You know what I mean? As crazy as it sounds, you know what I mean? Like they seem to perfectly complement one another, and they both came into it. Equally, he's like the yin to her yang. It's kind of weird. So I think the relationship is enduring. It's going to last. As ridiculous as that sounds, as far as any relationship in Hollywood, or in the UK. But that's what I think. That's how I felt.
Dalton, people said that about Will and Jada, and we're not going to get into it right now. We're not going to get into it, but I'm just saying people have said that about celebrity couples. But I agree with you. I think there's something about their dynamic that makes you go, okay, this is like whatever this is. It's kind of real, or at least it's recognizable to our love lives. Like that's kind of how you talk to people that you love. Just last comment to you, Dalton, on this. Do you buy the premise that this show is giving you, that for all the wealth and fame and the fancy stuff that David Beckham has, he's the one cleaning his own kitchen at night, and he's the one going around and tidying the space. He's just a humble working class guy in the middle of all this craziness. Do you buy that after watching?
No, that's fabrication. That's fiction. Okay. Let's be honest. I mean, David, do people? I don't get a sense that people even quite understand like how much money he makes and footballers make. Like they're like combined, they're probably like billionaires at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I just and not to we're not gonna sort of judge him for that. He's like a self-made man, right? Like again, he comes from working poor origins, and he was all I think the difference between Beckham and most like footballers at the time when he was coming from the game is that he was always thinking about life after football. You know what I mean? And he pretty much spells that out. In his early 20s, like, okay, there's a short lifespan, the game. I want to be thinking about sponsorship deals and all that, right? So he was way ahead of the game. But, he treats himself like a brand, and, athletes weren't really doing that. He's doing it well. I don't know, but I'm not buying that, just to answer your question in a roundabout way. Like, hell no. He has a fleet of housekeepers. Like, come on now, let's be real.
He's making his own honey. It's like, I know that's like supposed to be, oh, look, I'm making my own honey. I'm working. No, you have beehives. No.
That's Sticky Stuff by David Beckham, as I recall the name of it. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and you're listening to Commotion. And on this podcast, this is the day where we look at the biggest stories in arts and entertainment. We got Dalton Higgins here, Rad Simonpillai is here, and T. Donahue is here. Okay, we're going to go from talking about one obscenely wealthy celebrity to another.
He looks so pretty like a devil is. We're about to go on a little adventure together, and that adventure is going to span 17 years of music. How does that sound?
All I want to do is actually just continue singing the song that she was just singing. That is, of course, Taylor Swift. Bit of the trailer for the Eras Tour concert movie. That concert movie is about to come out in theaters today. It is also poised to become the highest grossing concert movie of all time already. It just opened. And it's basically what it is the big screen version of her Eras Tour. And let's talk to me. On a scale of 1 to 1989, how excited are you for this Taylor Swift movie?
Like my adult rational self is like, say 2 and have some clout. But no, it's nice. Like I'm fully at 1987. Actually, I'll say 1985 because that's when I was born.
Sure,
I don't have the money to see her live. I don't have the time to go to a concert, to wait in my car when I'm leaving. Like I'd be stressed the entire time. this is perfect. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to have snacks. I'm going to go to the bathroom when I feel like it. I'm going to not worry about lineups. This is how concerts are for the elderly. And as an elderly person, I'm really excited I'm going to go to bed at a reasonable hour afterwards, maybe at 9.
You're going to dance in your seat without your feet hurting. It's fantastic.
Let's get a little. I'm not going to do that because you know what? I don't like a scene. I don't like forced fun. Don't make me do. I just want to watch the film, and I also want to go with a friend, and because we have to roast her as well at the same time. You roast who you enjoy,
you always roast the ones you love, as they say.
I gotta roast. There's some roasting. I mean, she did grow up at a Christmas tree farm in Philadelphia. We gotta make some jokes. You have to make.
Talk to me a little bit about, the idea of seeing a concert film in a theater. Have you done that before? Do you have any memories of like, oh, that one sticks out as like, oh, that was a great experience?
Let me tell you about seeing the One Direction concert movie in
Let's
2014.
Go. Yes.
It was stupendous. First of all, it was filled with wee ones who were full-on Directioners. I went with a fellow adult friend of mine, and she actually cried at the beginning. She's like, this is beautiful. I'm like, I agree, but I'm not going to cry. There was children who felt real things. They weren't cynical the way when we go to the movies or experience anything, we're like, well, this is going to end up bad in some capacity. They enjoyed it. It was just authentic feelings. And then you can't hate. Even though you're aware that you're spending money on something pretty ridiculous, you cannot hate the experience because it's just childhood joy everywhere. Don't be that creepy adult though that's like, hello children, would you like to talk about this? No, let them be with their friends. You're not their friend.
That was almost me.
Go with other grown-ups and don't talk to the children. I will say,
talk to children.
I had a great time at the Justin Bieber Never Say Never show. That's a concert film that I remember with great fondness. Dalton, I want to talk to you a little bit about. Listen, most of us here have not seen the Eras film yet, but we're going to do a full review of it on the Monday podcast. But I think it's time for us to talk about the concert film as its own sort of art form. Dalton, what do you think makes a concert film a proper film instead of just like, here's a visual souvenir of a show?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's it's the material that you don't see at the concert that I think I'm mostly interested in, right? So, like, I want to know, Beyonce's pre-show routine, does she eat gummy bears or take tequila shots, before she hits the stage? Like, I also want to know their post-show routine. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is Beyonce, taking tequila shots, eating gummy bears? That's the stuff that excites me. When we talk about, why am I talking about Beyonce? But anyway,
it was a very notable turn, Dalton. All of us were like, he wants to talk about Beyonce and not Taylor Swift. Got it. I get it.
I get it. Talk about Beyonce.
The Beyonce concert film is coming out in December, we should say. So we got a couple of them back to back that are coming.
And the reason I'm referencing is she does have the Renaissance, film concert film coming out, but like her Homecoming concert film, like that was crazy because you just saw like a 100 dancers and instrumentalists and all this costume changes and what have you. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see that behind the scenes preparation. I want to see Jay-Z and Blue Ivy, helping her pick out her jewelry. I mean, like that's where I get my kicks, my rocks off. You know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, but yeah.
No, we should say, like, Eras is arriving at this very interesting moment because at the same time as this re-release, this is in theaters right now. Talking Heads with Girlfriend is Better. It's from Stop Making Sense. That's from 1984, and it's widely considered to be one of the greatest concert films of all time. This November, there's also going to be a theatrical re-release of the other greatest concert film of all time, Martin Scorsese's The Last Waltz. That's about the band's final concert. Rad, I would say it's very rare to see a concert film in this moment in time that captures the public imagination the same way that The Last Waltz did, the same way that Stop Making Sense did. How would you say the medium of concert films has changed since those days that you might call, as the film guy on this panel, the glory days?
Well, I mean, first, I think, like Dalton's point, Homecoming does come close to capturing the imagination that Stop Making Sense and Ding did. And I think part of the reason why Homecoming does come close is because, like The Last Waltz, it was conceived cinematically almost, right? Like that show was put on with the cameraman in mind. Like there's that whole sequence in Homecoming where the cameraman is like choreographing his way up the stairs, following Beyonce through the like it's so it'd be the camera, the audience, the movie theater audience is considered is part of the show.
Right.
And that was the case when it came to The Last Waltz. With The Last Waltz, it was historic because like, I mean, there was the behind the scenes conversation of it, but there's also the fact that Scorsese got all of these actual film cameras into the thing and planned the show according to the cameras, right? And also with The Last Waltz,
we're here to make a film. We're here specifically for this medium.
Making a film. Exactly. Like, and The Last Waltz also, of course, there's a big philosophical conversation with that performance and with that concert where it's like the end of an era. Like we're moving from like kind of the hippie area to Reaganomics. The band is finishing. There's this end, like there's a mourning period in The Last Waltz, so it becomes more than just the concert. Stop Making Sense is an interesting one because it's so good, but it was planned as a tour. It wasn't planned for a concert. The cameras, like Jonathan Demme came in, like they came in after the fact. But the thing is, David Byrne has very cinematic.
He's generally
presence.
Cinematic kind of artist.
Yeah, so like it's almost like he was catered for the camera. And now what we're seeing with most concert films are just there's an expression called canned theater. It's like here's a show. We're just bringing cameras into a show that's already there. We're going to capture it for an audience that can be at the show. We're going to give you different perspectives. That's
like
mostly
it's not using the medium of film sort of artistically is what you're saying.
No, it's just capturing what you're missing. And it's also in some ways, like I'll give the Taylor Swift one some credit. Like there's some great 360 shots and stuff. But for the most part, the cameras are too far away to really get in on the action because they were not considered when they devised the tour.
And last word to you on this. With Eras and Beyonce's Renaissance film coming up, it seems like the concert film is becoming this consolation prize, right? It's becoming a consolation prize for people who can't get tickets because we've seen all this mess that has to do with ticketing. What do you make of this trend? Like, will this be enough for people who are trying to go to a show?
I would love to say yes, absolutely, but it will, of course not. Like being in front, like being at a Beyonce concert is like there she is. You're breathing the same air. People are having experiences around you in a way that's very tangible. There's T-shirts involved. Like it's very like almost like a religious ritual when you go to a concert in real life. Unfortunately, most of us can't afford to go to those big concerts because it's Bleak Street out there and Ticketmaster is frightening. So, I mean, for people who may not live and breathe concerts, I mean, I would love to go to this like room service equivalent of a concert where they're like, what would you like? And you're like, these close-up shots of that unitard so I can try to copy it at my house. Yeah. But I think for the most part, if you love live music, you'll always love live music. You'll always want to see live music. And it's a nice little gold star, but it's not, the number one trophy if we're going to talk football claims. That's how it works, right? We're going to go back to football.
100%. 100%.
Thank you. Okay.
Dalton, I saw you nodding along there as Anne was speaking. Do you get the sense that this will become a replacement for trying to attend concerts as concerts become like basically vacations, right? It's like if you want to go to a Taylor Swift show, it's as much as you're spending on a trip to Disneyland, right? Like it's like a large expenditure, but you can go to the concert film. It's going to cost you $20, and maybe you can eat popcorn while you're doing it. Does that become a reasonable replacement, do you think?
It's a very reasonable replacement. I mean, here's one of my biggest beefs or gripes with these large stadium-sized concerts of today is that, like if you don't have good tickets, right? Like tickets that aren't that great are like going to run you back a couple $100.
Sure.
If you don't have those $600,000, $800,000 tickets, you're watching a screen anyways, right? And nobody wants to talk about this, So when I see Taylor Swift or Beyonce and I don't have great tickets, I'm looking at a screen. So I'm looking at this miniature sort of micro Beyonce on stage. I'm watching the screen. I can't see Beyonce.
The light sort of moves on stage, but mostly you're watching the giant screen. Like that's really what
you're mostly watching the giant screen. And then, and what you said is absolutely like you couple that with a concession stand. Let's go there, man. Like $25 hamburgers, like. I can do with that. Like it's just so incredibly expensive. So I personally don't mind watching it at home where I can get those close-ups, I can actually see Taylor Swift and Beyonce, and it's not this micro Beyonce on a concert stage. Watch it in your PJs. Don't have to worry about chatty, noisy concert attendees flashing their phones in my face. Like, I'm totally okay with that.
I would have said you're missing out on the dancing and the crowd, but also I just saw those videos that are going around of Taylor Swift attending her own concert film. The lady is just standing up in her own chair, dancing to her music. And honestly, I love that for her. And I love this for us. I appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you so much for such a wonderful ride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. This has been a delight. Dalton Higgins is a journalist and professor in residence at Toronto Metropolitan University. Rad Simonpillai is a film critic, also in Toronto. And Auntie Donahue is a writer in Cambridge, Ontario. And you know what? I'd like you to come back to us on Monday, because then two Swifties are going to be on the podcast. They're going to tell us exactly what the vibe was like inside the theater for Taylor Swift's new Eras tour, which is, of course, premiering today. I have my ticket for that today, and I'm really excited to do it. And that is it for the show today. But listen, before I go, I just wanted to tell you about the incredible team that helps get the show on the air. Commotion is produced by Stuart Berman, Ty Callender, Gene Kim, Jane Vancouverden, and Jess Lowe. Our digital producers are Amelia Ekbal and Shuli Crossman-Gray. Our director is Danielle Grogan. Our engineers this week are Gabby Hagorilis and Sam Hashmi. The senior producer is John Perry. And our executive producer is Anne McKeegan. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I'm away next week. My pal Emil Niazi is going to be filling in. But I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Stay safe.